Nobody inside Wellington's packed stadium expected the afternoon to begin like this. Thousands of fans had arrived believing they were about to watch another comfortable All Blacks victory, but within minutes the entire atmosphere changed. The noise suddenly disappeared, replaced by disbelief as Tommaso Menoncello seized a loose opportunity, powered through the first defender with incredible strength, linked beautifully with Malik Faisal, and sprinted more than 50 meters to score one of the most memorable opening tries of the nation's championship. It was bold, fearless, and completely unexpected. In that single moment, Italy had done something very few visiting teams ever manage in New Zealand. They planted a seed of doubt. The favorites were suddenly chasing the game, and the rugby world was left wondering whether one of the biggest upsets in recent memory was beginning to unfold. The early minutes belonged entirely to the visitors. Every tackle carried purpose. Every carry was made with confidence. Every defensive set was filled with belief. Instead of sitting back and absorbing pressure, Italy challenged the All Blacks head-on. They refused to play like underdogs. Their aggressive line speed disrupted New Zealand's rhythm, forcing rush decisions and small handling mistakes that rarely appear in the home side's game. Every successful tackle lifted the confidence of the players in blue, while every turnover frustrated a New Zealand team that simply could not find its usual attacking flow. The crowd, normally so loud whenever the All Blacks attacked, became unusually quiet as they watched their side struggle to find space. To their credit, the All Blacks never panicked. Great teams understand that Test rugby is rarely won in the opening 20 minutes. They stayed patient, trusted their structure, and continued building phase after phase. Their persistence was finally rewarded when Sam Darry powered over the line after a series of relentless carries close to the try line. The score settled the home side, but only briefly. Tommaso Allen calmly punished another New Zealand infringement, nudging Italy back in front and reminding everyone that this was no lucky performance. Every point had been earned through discipline and determination. As halftime approached, the pressure continued to build. New Zealand controlled much of the possession, but possession alone meant very little against a defensive system performing with extraordinary intensity. The visitors repeatedly closed down attacking channels before they could even develop. Nacho Brex became the heartbeat of that defensive effort, constantly leading the line forward with perfect timing. Alongside him, Ross Vincent flew into collisions with remarkable speed, forcing even experienced internationals into uncomfortable mistakes. The All Blacks looked dangerous whenever they had the ball, but dangerous was not enough. They needed accuracy, patience, and something special to unlock a defense that refused to bend. That special moment finally arrived through pure rugby intelligence. Jordy Barrett spotted a tiny gap behind the rushing defensive line and delicately chipped the ball into space. Reading the play before anyone else on the field, Will Jordan accelerated onto the kick with perfect timing before calmly grounding the ball for another classic Test try. It was one of those moments that separates elite players from everyone else, not because it looked spectacular, but because it happened in the blink of an eye. At halftime, despite enjoying most of the possession, New Zealand held only a narrow advantage. The scoreboard reflected exactly what everyone had witnessed. This was a genuine contest. Inside the dressing room, something clearly changed. Whether it came from the coaches, the senior leaders, or simple experience, the All Blacks walked back onto the field looking like a different team. They had spent 40 minutes studying Italy's aggressive defensive system, and now they finally understood how to attack it. Rather than forcing passes into heavy traffic, they slowed the game down just enough to let the defenders overcommit. One player, in particular, became central to that adjustment. Ruben Love delivered perhaps his most mature Test performance so far. Throughout the first half he had been placed under enormous pressure, but instead of allowing frustration to affect his decision-making, he remained calm. As the second half began, he started holding onto the ball for a split second longer. It sounds like a tiny adjustment, but at international level those fractions of a second change everything. Defenders rushed forward expecting an early pass, only to find themselves running beyond the ball. Suddenly, space opened behind the defensive line. Pullback passes became available. Support runners appeared in dangerous positions. The attacking rhythm completely transformed. Once New Zealand discovered that solution, the momentum shifted with incredible speed. Cam Roigard was first to capitalize, slicing through before diving over the line. The energy inside the stadium immediately changed. Every tackle from the All Blacks became more dominant. Every carry became more aggressive. Every offload seemed to stick. Confidence returned with every phase, while Italy, after spending nearly an hour defending with extraordinary courage, slowly began to tire under relentless pressure. Then came one of the defining moments of the afternoon. Ethan de Groot crossed for a try that perfectly represented everything supporters admire about New Zealand rugby. The score began not with dazzling attack but with determined defense. After surviving a long period of pressure, the All Blacks recovered possession, launched a counterattack, and debutant Josh Moorby exploded downfield with a brilliant run that stretched the Italian defense. Seconds later, the forwards arrived in support, recycled the ball with impressive speed, and de Groot crashed over to finish the movement. It was powerful, patient, and clinical, exactly the type of rugby championship-winning teams produce when the pressure is highest. The floodgates had now opened. Tupou Vaa'i soon added another try as New Zealand's confidence continued to grow. The passing became sharper. The support lines became quicker. Every player seemed to know exactly where the next opportunity would appear. What had looked like a tense battle during the first half had suddenly become a masterclass in adapting under pressure. But the afternoon was about to become unforgettable for one man. Will Jordan had already scored once before halftime, but he was far from finished. With the Italian defense beginning to stretch, his instincts took over. He appeared exactly where his teammates needed him, reading the game several seconds ahead of everyone else on the field. First came his second try, finished with the calmness that has become his trademark. Then, only moments later, he completed a magnificent hat-trick, sending the Wellington crowd into celebration. Yet this was more than another three-try performance. It was history. With that final score, Will Jordan reached an extraordinary milestone, becoming New Zealand's greatest Test try scorer. 50 tries in just 56 Test appearances is an astonishing achievement, especially in an era where defensive systems are more organized than ever before. Legends have worn the famous black jersey across generations, yet Jordan now stands alone at the top of one of rugby's most iconic records. His success is not built on flashy celebrations or loud personalities. Nobody inside Wellington's packed stadium expected the afternoon to begin like this. Thousands of fans